Hi, my name is Ann Dunkel, and I am the Monitoring Program Manager at Streamwatch, which is the local stream monitoring organization for the Rivanna River watershed. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about stream monitoring within the context of stream ecology. So why do we monitor our streams? Ultimately, we want to monitor our streams to understand the water quality of the environment that we live in. We in Charlottesville live in the Rivanna River watershed, and a lot of actually all of our drinking water comes from reservoirs that we have along different branches of the Rivanna River, along the Mormons, along different forks of the Rivanna, to collect water for us to drink. And so as consumers of that drinking water, we want to know, is the water that we're drinking good and clean? And so that's one of the main reasons that we monitor our water quality. On top of that, we recreate in the rivers, we fish from the rivers, our dogs swim in the rivers. And so as human health issues, we're also concerned about the quality of our water and our watershed. And as per more of outside of our own personal self-interest, there's a huge aspect of the aquatic ecology and aquatic life within our streams. A lot of insects that you see terrestrially, such as some flies like black flies or Dobson flies or dragonflies, they actually start off their lives within our rivers and within our creeks. And so if our creeks and our rivers aren't healthy, then we're not going to see those types of insects flying around, which are also a huge food source for a lot of other creatures that live terrestrially. So it's all connected in a way that a lot of the base of the food chain actually starts within our streams and in our rivers. And so we're really concerned with our whole ecosystem, then we're concerned with the quality of our streams and rivers and the aquatic life within them. And each one of those things is affected by the land use that occurs up gradient of our creeks and our rivers. So if we have a gas station that's leaking some petroleum products, or if we have a farm that is allowing their cows to walk in the stream and maybe poop in the stream, or if we have a farmer who's maybe spraying insecticides, and then those are all getting kind of run down gradient when a storm occurs and going into our creeks and affecting our aquatic life and our water quality. We want to make sure that by monitoring our streams and our water quality that we're understanding what's happening up gradient of them, and that is a great way for us to sort of understand just the general health of our whole watershed. So one of the ways in which we monitor streams is using benthic macroinvertebrates. So these are the larval forms of a lot of things that you see terrestrially. So we have in here some, obviously you see some snails, but there's some mayflies, caddisflies, stoneflies, midges, there's some beetles in here. So each one of these is sensitive to pollution at a different level. We have mayflies, which is the one that's kind of up to the right next to the snail. And mayflies are really sensitive to pollution versus something such as a midge, which is a type of true fly, is not very sensitive to pollution. So if we take a sample at a site and we are finding a lot of mayflies and different types of mayflies, then we know that not that much pollution has come through that area, because if it had, then those mayflies might have been killed off, or they might have decided to lay their eggs in a healthier stream and sort of colonize somewhere else. Versus if we take a sample at a site and we don't find there to be any mayflies, but we only find those types of aquatic larvae that are actually not very sensitive to pollution, then we know that maybe some pollution has kind of come through in the past and affected the water quality in that area. So benthic macroinvertebrates are really good in the sense in that they are sort of canaries in the coal mine for different types of water quality issues. Also, they sort of tell a story of what's been happening over the past few months and over the past season. It's not just a quick dipping a bottle into the water and taking a snapshot at time of water quality at that one time and moment. These benthic macroinvertebrates are really good indicators of what the quality is over a longer time frame. And so that's really helpful for us to sort of get a better, more larger picture of what the water quality is in streams. So we're looking at what benthic macroinvertebrates we're finding, what diversity there is, and what sensitivity that those have to pollution in order to get sort of a score or a metric for the water quality at a stream site. And this is a methodology that lots of different citizen science monitoring groups use, as well as the Department of Environmental Quality in Virginia and the Environmental Protection Agency in the whole United States. So it is a tried and true method. So StreamWatch released a report this past June that came out with water quality for our watershed for the past 10 years, because we've been monitoring for 10 years now. And as you can see, kind of located around Charlottesville, the water quality has been not very good, mostly because it's an urban area, so you are going to get a lot more of negative effects from different types of land use within the urban watershed. But if you go and you look up closer to the mountains, you're seeing there's a lot of healthier sites. So looking at the water quality on our watershed, we actually only have 70% of the sites that we monitor pass the Virginia standard for aquatic life. So the aquatic life in our watershed is actually not doing as good as it could. But it hasn't changed over the past 10 years very much at all. So that's good to know that all of the development that's been going on in Charlottesville and the surrounding areas hasn't really had a huge negative impact on our overall stream health. So those are really good pieces of information that are good for us to have, and we share those with the city, and we share those with the county, Albemarle County, Fluvanna County, so that they can make better decisions on so they can make better decisions on how to develop their areas, and for future planning issues. So with that, we can kind of think about not only in our own local area, but that things that happen up in the mountains really affect the water quality that we drink in Charlottesville, and then things that we do in Charlottesville affect things downstream in the James River watershed. So down in Columbia is where the Rivanna River watershed meets the James, and then the James flows obviously here in this image to the Chesapeake Bay watershed. And what this picture is showing is that you can see there's a whole bunch of sedimentation occurring along the Potomac River and the James River, and that's all flowing into the Chesapeake. And you might not think that sediment could be a major pollutant, but it is definitely the largest pollutant that we have in the Rivanna River watershed, and then it's probably the second largest pollutant next to nutrients in the Chesapeake River watershed. So if someone were to clear a field and remove a whole bunch of trees and not put any land cover on it, and a storm were to come through and wash off a whole bunch of sediment, that actually is going to choke out a lot of the aquatic life in the streams and have a lot of negative impacts on that, and then that's going to flow downstream into the James, and then that's going to go downstream into the Chesapeake Bay watershed, or Chesapeake Bay in whole. So you can kind of see how we're all connected within a large global watershed of the Earth. And with that, I thank you for listening, and I hope that you are a little bit curious about stream monitoring within our area, and if you ever want to come check out StreamWatch and maybe take a benthic macroinvertebrate sample, please email me. I would love to have you along. My email is anne@streamwatch.org. So thanks.